The first light of dawn crept over the horizon, casting a soft orange glow over the jungle. A young girl stood at the edge of the dense forest, her figure barely visible in the early morning mist. In her hands, she gripped a wooden bow, her expression focused and determined. The wild was calling her, and today she would answer. Taking a deep breath, she stepped silently into the jungle, the thick canopy overhead casting long shadows. Her feet moved carefully, avoiding the dry leaves scattered on the ground. The air was thick with the scent of earth and greenery, and the only sounds were the occasional rustling of leaves and distant animal calls. Every step was deliberate, each one drawing her deeper into the untamed wild. She stopped, kneeling to the ground. In the soft dirt, fresh tracks appeared, large, well-defined. Her heart quickened as her fingers traced the outline of the animal's path. It was close. Standing again, she followed the trail, her senses heightened as she ventured further into the jungle's depths. Through the dense foliage ahead, she saw movement. Carefully, she pushed aside a cluster of vines, revealing a stream. There, drinking from the water, was a majestic deer. Its coat shimmered in the morning light, completely unaware of the danger lurking nearby. The girl froze, her breath shallow, watching intently. This was her moment. With practiced precision, she reached behind her to pull an arrow from her quiver. Slowly, she notched it onto her bow and drew the string back, the tension vibrating in her fingers. Her eyes locked onto the deer, her breathing steady as she prepared to strike. Suddenly, the deer lifted its head. Its ears twitched, sensing something was amiss. The girl held her breath, her fingers poised on the bowstring. For a moment, time seemed to stop. The two locked eyes and the jungle fell silent. She released the arrow. It sliced through the air with a sharp hiss, heading straight for the deer. But in a flash, the animal bolted, disappearing into the trees as the arrow narrowly missed its mark. Without hesitation, the girl sprinted after it, her legs moving swiftly through the undergrowth. She leapt over fallen logs and ducked beneath low branches, her heart pounding in her chest as the chase intensified. Ahead, the deer stumbled, its path blocked by the edge of a steep ravine. It had nowhere left to run. The girl slowed her pace, approaching with caution. She drew another arrow from her quiver, her bow raised, ready to finish what she had started. The deer stood trembling, cornered with no escape. But as she stood there, her bow drawn, something shifted inside her. She looked at the animal, not as prey, but as a creature of the wild, just like her. She hesitated, the arrow still drawn, her breath heavy. Slowly, she lowered her bow. The deer's eyes were wide, but it stood frozen, watching her. After a long, tense moment, the deer turned and ran. It disappeared into the jungle, vanishing into the thick vegetation. The girl stood by the ravine, watching until it was out of sight. A soft smile crossed her lips. She had come to hunt, but she had gained something far more important: an understanding of the wilderness, of the delicate balance of life. She lowered her bow, standing alone in the jungle's stillness. The sun had risen higher now, its light filtering through the trees. The jungle was alive with sounds once again, but this time it felt different. Peaceful. She took one last look in the direction the deer had fled, then turned and began her quiet journey back home, leaving the jungle undisturbed, just as she had found it.